Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshops. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna, and all those others that like seeing an old man make sawdust. But before we get started, we got to check in with my assistant. Now, you may think that my assistant is asleep, but she's not. You were just contemplating, weren't you, girl? You were just contemplating. Well, let's get to work. Right. Okay, this session we're going to try to finish the inside of the upper case. But I ran into a little snag. I don't know if you can see the pieces of sprocket on my planer, my DeWalt planer. But I can't complain too much. I looked up when I bought that. It was December of 2003, so it's nearly 20 years old, and that's the first problem I've had. So, but I got the replacement sprocket, and we're back up and running. It's been a wonderful planer, does a nice job, and it's lasted 20 years. You can't complain. So the first thing we're going to work on is how to mount this onto the lower desk part, so that it's more secure than what the original. The original was just set on there, and you know it could topple off. So we're gonna differ and make it a little better. All right, here's a picture of the lower cabinet of the original, and it doesn't show up real well, but there's this little spacer that's in there. It's behind the molding. That's what the upper cabinet sat on. We've already seen the pictures of the upper cabinet. The bottom of it's completely flat, so there's no lip that fit down inside there. The only thing that was holding that in place was the top edge of the molding. And that's kind of scary. As much weight is going to be on there. I mean, it's supposed to be a bookcase. There's going to be books, and then we still have the bonnet top. So we're going to come up with something better. But we're going to use that spacer to our advantage. And this is what I'm going to do. Basically, we're going to have one or two big giant dovetails. So we got these three pieces, and this front edge are going to be glued and screwed to the desk part of the case. These two will go on to the upper cabinet. And you can see we got a 10 degree bevel this way and also this way. So it acts like a big dovetail when I go in. See, I can't, even if I'm not all the way in there, I can't lift it, right? So when I'm all the way back in, it won't budge at all. So that'll be the challenge next, is positioning these. And the way I accomplished this was I had a piece of maple. This is hard maple. So I had a strip that was longer than the desk, and I cut it to this width and made these 4 cuts on my chop saw at the, like I said, a 10 degree bevel and a 10 degree angle. Then I cut these 2 strips. I'm going to show you the other strip here. I got a back strip. This back strip will be attached to the upper case and will act like a stop. And then it'll be screwed into so that we can't slide it back out. So I cut these 2 strips to the width of the upper cabinet. Then I glued these 3 pieces to this strip, screwed this in, then trimmed everything to be exactly the size of the upper cabinet. I had it on its back, and so I was able to trim the ends and then finally make a rip cut up the front, because we got the screws in the back, to make it the right depth this way. So that allowed me then, with this assembly all screwed together, to set this on the upper cabinet and get the holes drilled. So that's where that came from. So we are ready to fit these on the upper cabinet. And I put a little spacer in there for each one so that it's not quite all the way in there. It's close, but what I'm afraid of is that it's going to wedge so tight you won't be able to get it back out, or that seasonal changes it's going to be. So I got it almost, and I can't lift it, just barely. So that'll help me get it in a good solid place. So my next step is I'm going to set the upper cabinet on top of this, and then we're going to screw in through the upper cabinet into this. And those screws will all be covered when we put the liner in on the cabinet. So, and that's about it. Hope it works. All right, we got the two pieces on the top thing that just need to set up. And then we've got the corresponding parts drying on the case. So we'll let that set up for a half hour or so, and then we'll test fit it. And then we can work on the molding that's gonna go. It's gonna go there. So we can go ahead and we're gonna glue this front piece on the side piece because it's going across grain. We'll glue a couple of inches, and then we'll have to put a nail in it back there. That's the way they would have done it, so that it can move, the case can move. So, but that'll be a bit later today. All right, we got it done. So that's how it sits on there. So we're ready to put on the trim, the molding. And so I've got it all cut to size. I've got the pilot holes for the nails. I'm going to use these. These are cut nails. They're called headless brads. If I can focus on that. There. So they're basically reproduction nails. And I've got a nail set that I modified to be the size of those heads. So we put that just under the surface, and we put some sawdust mixed with glue in there, and you won't see that at all when it's finished. So let me do that, and we'll be there. All right, we got it all in place. So we have got the bottom case is done. So what I'll fill those nail holes and then sand that dry, and the lower case is ready for finish. More finish. Got some on there ready. So now we can get to work on the inside of the upper cabinet. All right, here's a picture of the dividers we have to make. So we're going to do the fixed ones. There's the two verticals here and all the horizontal ones. So we got 4 on the outsides and 3 on the insides, and they're all about a half-inch thick stock. I made mine a little, about 9/16. So here's all the boards. So I got them milled to that thickness. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the decorative edge on the front. It's got a double bead, kind of like the inside. This right here. So we'll use a bead bit on the router table, flip it, and then do the other side. And so we're going to do that on all of these before I start cutting them up. All right, so we got the 2 beads, and you see we got a little bit there in the center. So I just made a quick pass on the router or on the table side, and we get it down there. So a little bit trace of it left. So I'm gonna go back over this with hand plane, and with a 1/4 inch wide blade, looks like about a 1/4 inch, and clean that bottom up. All right, there's the finished profile. I used my Stanley 45 with just the one little narrow blade in there. I couldn't quite get the other fence to fit in there. It was just a little bit too wide. So that got the bottom flat. Then I just went ahead and sanded it. Well, I've got them here. So we're ready to actually start cutting these to length. All right, we got the 2 verticals almost all the way in. We just have to, it has to come forward just about the depth of that. So I took a marking knife and marked those corners. So we'll pull those out and then make the notches. Then we've got to make the dados in the side and 3 between the 2 middles. But it isn't a straight dado. Well, I'll show you that when I get there. All right, this would be a standard dado, but we need to have those beads mitered. So we got the other So I don't know what you call that. I'd say that's a mitered dado. It's because we need to make we need to go cut like that, and then I think come back and cut those corners. Not really sure how else you do it. So that's just going to be a challenge, but we'll figure it out. All right, we got the cuts done on these verticals, and what I did was I cut this slot right here that's a little over a 1/4 inch on the table saw with a dado blade, and then with a V-bit went back and trimmed the sides of it so that it was there. So we'll see how close that is. I'm having a little bit of a problem. These boards have started to warp on me. Not sure. I should have probably waited after I resawed them. I should probably waited a week. But anyway, that's making it harder to get it even because it's a little bit warped. So anyway, now we got to make the mates. All right, we got the first of the horizontal pieces in it. I need to do a little bit of work in there, clean that up. But we're there. I had to put some notches in and make this fit in there. But we're pretty good, I think. So, what do we got? 6 more to go. All right, we got all the fixed dividers in. I know it's kind of hard to see with all that stuff in the background, but there we are. It's not perfect, but that was a lot tougher than it should have been just because these boards are cupping a little bit on me, and I should have, and I knew better. After resawing them, I should have let them sit for a couple of days before I planed them flat. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna redo them all. So now the next thing is we got all of these removable dividers, and they run in these little V grooves in the bottom, and in the top. So all the horizontal pieces, I need to cut the filler for the top and the bottom, and so when that's in, that has to have a V cut. This has to have a V cut on both sides. Same with this one, and then at the top, and then each column's going to have that same thing. So a lot of V cuts They're a little over, they're like 1.25 inches apart or so, but there's a lot of them. So first thing we need to cut the pieces for the liner, and I made this a little proud so that this could be just a square cut on this side, but at this corner they need to be mitered. There's to be a side filler piece too, so that makes a little extra. The one in the middle would just be the side piece, and then of course at the top we get that. So we gotta cut all those, and they're a little over 1/4 inch thick. All right, we got the V slots done. That's what they look like. So there'll be a decorative 1/4 inch movable dividers that go in whatever slot. So each compartment will have one decorative divider. That'll be later. So now we got to work on the sides and a little 2-inch back and a secret compartment somewhere. So that's it. All right. Got a few days off here, but we got the all the fixed dividers are all glued in place, so that's all done. I'm just gluing up the liner and on the side panels, and the bottoms and tops are all glued in. There is another approach to this. I debated. I don't know how they did this space, but you could have made a inner case that was, dovetailed on the corners like the outside case is, that would just slip in from the back, and you would have all of the fixed stuff attached to that inner case, and you would just slip it in. That's another approach, but I decided to do it this way with the thinner liners, and I got little glue blocks there to help me. Since these boards kind of were warping on me, I got those glue blocks to hold it in place there. But I did it this way so I could do a secret compartment. And so I'm going to reveal this one. This is like number 6, from simple little pouches on the back of a drawer to more complex ones. And this one, you have to reach back in that last inch or so and push, and this opens up. And I was looking for torsion springs, which are the springs that have the 2 little tabs out, and that, the tension is the twisting of but I couldn't find one of the right tension locally at the hardware stores. So I'm gonna do the fallback of having a magnet. So I got the holes for 2 little 1/4 inch magnets that will hold that closed. So I got to do this other side, and then there's the piece that goes in the back. I wanted to be able to see the glue up, but I've got these pieces here with got the rabbits and the dados. That's going to fit over this hole and be glued in place and support these panels in the back. And then the back, which will have to be the primary wood because it's going to be seen from the inside. Those we're going to go vertical. A lot of times the casework, lower cases anyway, it all goes horizontal, but we're going to go vertical, and it'll just be nailed in place, which they would have traditionally done. And that allows it to, since it's cross grain, that allows the boards of the back to adjust with humidity changes, and the nails will give just enough to, hopefully, to allow that to stay in place and not crack. But I won't be around in 100 years to find out. So that's it. So now we're going to work on, while this is drying, we're going to work on the straight molding that goes underneath these guys. Just the two bottoms. It's not on the top. So we're going to work on that. And then we'll glue up this other side. All right, here we are at the router table. I got the first pass done. There. So you can see that's the bit that I used to do that much of it. And so I'm going to use this cove bit, if I can focus on it. There we go. To make that last little bit, and then we'll just take on the table saw, cut it to the right width. There we go. All right, we got the molding shaped. We're in good shape. I cut it down on the table saw to the right length. So we've got 4 pieces that are going to be the same 2 3/4 to go on the front and the side. So we got both left and right hands to do. But we've got to cut these little pieces like this that have to go on the end, like so. So we'll need 4 of those little guys too. And I think I'll probably glue those little ends on first, and then trim them flush on the back side, and then we'll nail on the molding. All right, we are just about there with this upper case. If I get the whole thing in there, kind of hard to see with all the crap in the back, isn't it? Anyway, I got the straight molding put on there. So that's the way that looks. And we got the miters at this end. And we got all the sides put in. They're nice and solid. I got the back strips put on. These guys right there. So that supports this back end of this, so it's good and tight. So we are there. There's the other column from the side and the top. Oh, looks like I got a little sanding there. So we got to go over it with hand sanding to get ready to finish. So the next step, that'll be it for this episode. So the next step is I got to make the removable dividers, which are going to have this pattern on each one of them is a different size. So they're, I guess the side ones are the same size, but they'll each have that pattern on it. And then we've got the back to put, to at least cut out. And then we can start working on the doors, which have the shells across the top. So I did have a problem with the removable dividers are 1/4 inch material like this, and I had them, they were warped. I was able to get this one pretty straight. I took a wallpaper steamer, looks like this, and steamed it, and then laid it on the floor. I got mixed results when I did that, and I think it's because the floor side stayed wet longer than the side with the brick on it, because I got a few that warped the other way and a couple that were still warped. So I'm trying this. I've got 4 of them in that sandwich, so they will dry out equally, the sides. So tomorrow I'll take that out of there and see if the results are, but they are, most of them are pretty warped, so I hate to recut them all. We'll see how that works.